My friend, today is one of those days that will go down in history. The Raiders have just confirmed the arrival of a name that could mark a new era for the franchise. The Raiders are about to drop a bombshell on the NFL, and no one is prepared for what's coming. The name involved is simply one of the most feared by quarterbacks and offensive coordinators, Micah Parsons. The Dallas Cowboys star, a multiple All-Pro, is unhappy with the way the Texas front office has been handling his contract situation, and this has opened a loophole few imagined possible. A trade, but not just any trade. A high-risk, high-impact operation that could completely transform the Las Vegas Raiders' fortunes. According to NFL Rumors journalist Logan Ulrich, the Raiders are willing to do everything they can to secure the pass rusher. The proposed package is hefty. A 2026 first-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and on top of that, edge rusher Malcolm Kuntz, whose contract is valued at $11 million, would be traded to Dallas in exchange for Parsons. And the most impressive detail? Kuntz was one of the defensive standouts of 2023, but even so, John Spytek seems ready to let him go. And there's a reason for that. Since entering the NFL in 2021, Micah Parsons has been collecting numbers that place him in a special place. 4 seasons with more than 10 sacks, 2 with more than 100 pressures, and increasing consistency against the ground and through the air. It's rare to see a defender with such sophistication and impact on multiple levels of the game. He doesn't just pressure the quarterback, he changes the rhythm of an entire game. Now imagine Parsons alongside Max Crosby. We're talking about 2 elite prospects with energy, technique, and aggression that border on the supernatural. A real nightmare for any offensive line. Max Crosby already has his $106 million guaranteed contract signed this offseason and is the heart of the defense. But Parsons' arrival has raised the bar to another level, transforming Las Vegas into the most feared player in the AFC in terms of pass rush. Of course, the dream comes at a price. Financing 2 contracts of this caliber could limit investment in other positions. The Raiders have maintained that they must maneuver creatively within the salary cap and sacrifice some of the draft capital in the coming years. But Spytek seems to have a clear philosophy. If the talent is unique, it's worth paying. And word around Henderson is that the front office is not only considering the trade, but is already working on possible contract restructurings to make it possible. Beyond the impact on the field, there's also a message this type of move sends to the locker room and the fans. The Raiders aren't here to build a long-term project. They want to compete now. The AFC West is dominated by the Chiefs, but if Las Vegas can align Crosby and Parsons, the balance could begin to tip. It won't be easy to unseat Patrick Mahomes, but putting consistent pressure on him would be a great start. And if you think this potential big-ticket trade is the only sign of ambition coming from the Raiders front office, you're wrong. John Spytek is mixing up every piece of the board, not just the stars. While the national media only focuses on the big names, the GM has been making quiet, targeted moves that are paying off on offense. And 2 new names are joining the roster this weekend for exactly that purpose. And that's where we enter the next chapter of this quiet transformation. 2 receivers have been added to the Raiders' offensive group. They're not as famous as Parsons, but they're believed to have the potential to surprise and shake up the competition for the final roster spots. Let's understand who these new prospects are and what they can bring to the rotation. In the midst of the opening week of the preseason, with the game against the Seattle Seahawks just around the corner, GM John Spytek decided to shake up the roster with 2 more signings. The Raiders announced on Sunday the arrival of 2 new offensive targets, wide receiver Kawasson Baker and tight end Albert Okwuegbunam. In exchange, T.E. Pat Conroy and W.R. Kyle Phillips were released, reducing competition among the 90-man roster in training camp. The standout is Okwuegbunam. Drafted in the 4th round of 2020 by the Broncos, he has stints with the Eagles and Colts and arrives to compete for roster spots with strong names like Brock Bowers, the 2024 Cal sensation, Michael Mayer, formerly of Notre Dame, and Ian Thomas, formerly of the Panthers. His best season was in 2022, 33 receptions, 330 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Despite his uneven record, he's athletic, experienced, and has the potential to surprise. Kawasson Baker, formerly of South Alabama, had a solid college career and arrives with 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns under his belt. After playing for the Saints, Packers, Eagles, and the San Antonio Brahmas in the UFL, he gets another chance in the NFL, this time on a roster with fierce competition from young players. Spytek shows that while major trades like Parsons are discussed behind the scenes, he also keeps a close eye on the quiet quiet battles for the final roster spot. With the offense still developing, the preseason will be the battleground for these new players to prove their worth. But while the offense is strengthening and the front seven could earn an all-pro nod, an unexpected injury has rekindled alarm bells in the team's most vulnerable area, the secondary. It was one of those moments that makes time stand still during training camp. A seemingly ordinary play during Saturday's practice ended in disaster for the Raiders' secondary. Safety, Lonnie Johnson Jr., one of the most promising prospects to gain prominence under Pete Carroll's new scheme, fell to the Allegiant Stadium turf in visible pain. Shortly after, the confirmation no fan wanted to hear, a fractured fibula. Season over. And with that, the entire defensive structure plan for 2025 needs to be revised immediately. Johnson, 29, is the typical player who doesn't attract national media attention, but has enormous tactical value. He had been standing out in practice with his specific skills and reading of the game, exactly the type of defender Carroll loves to mold. His absence opens a dangerous hole in a unit already brimming with new players and a chemistry that's still building. The injury couldn't have come at a worse time, and rightly so, the Henderson backrooms began to stir. According to Raiders Wire's Justin Mello, the front office is already considering bringing in a longtime acquaintance of Coach Pete Carroll, veteran Quandre Diggs. A respected name in the league, Diggs was a key part of the Seattle Seahawks defense for 5 seasons under Carroll, and what he delivered during that time is simply elite. 3 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances, 14 interceptions between 2020 and 2022, and a technical and emotional leadership that few players at the position offer. Despite being 32 years old and coming off a serious foot injury, Lisfranc, Diggs has been given the green light by the medical team to return to the field, according to Ian Rappaport. And frankly, the timing couldn't have been better. With 145 career games, 120 of them as a starter, 24 interceptions, 56 pass breakups, and 5 forced fumbles, he would perfectly fit the Raiders' current needs: experience, confidence, and instinct. The Las Vegas front office has made some interesting moves in the secondary so far, bringing in Jamal Adams, Jeremy Chin, cornerback Eric Stokes, and Darnay Holmes, as well as betting on the versatile newcomer Darian Porter. But they're missing that name that carries with it on-field authority, that leader who shouts, organizes, anticipates, and above all, commands respect. Diggs has that DNA shaped directly by Pete Carroll when they ran the Seahawks defense together. And speaking with Carroll, he remains steadfast in his optimistic outlook for the group. We're very athletic, very fast, and big. It's an impressive group. I don't remember ever seeing a group as impressive as this one, the coach said recently. But we know he's also demanding. Carroll was the architect of the legendary Legion of Boom, the most dominant secondary of the past decade, to transform what is now just raw potential into a truly feared system. He may need to take one final step, and that step could bear the name and surname of Quandre Diggs. Furthermore, the reunion between coach and player would be both symbolic and strategic. Carroll knows how to use Diggs better than anyone. The safety already understands the system's defensive principles and could accelerate the entire group's adaptation to the new style. At a time like so many newcomers, having an experienced reference point can be the difference between chaos and defensive solidity. And if John Spytek has truly decided to act, Diggs' name may be just the tip of the iceberg. The market is buoyant, the offense is still undergoing adjustments, and the defense continues to be assembled with surgical precision. What other surprises could the new GM be preparing to take the Raiders to the top of the NFL? With so many promising explosive changes, a possible historic trade for Micah Parsons, new names emerging on offense, and the chance for Pete Carroll to reunite with Quandre Diggs to strengthen the secondary, are the Raiders finally building the ideal roster to challenge the Chiefs and reclaim their dominance of the AFC West? Leave your opinion here. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. But later, I will come back to update you with the latest news from the Raiders.